Good afternoon, and welcome to our online discussion of euthanasia and assisted suicide from the point of view of people with disabilities. My name is Amy Hasbrook, and I'm the director of Toujours Vivant-Not Dead Yet. We are a project of the Council of Canadians with Disabilities to inform, unify, and give voice to the disability rights opposition to assisted suicide, euthanasia, and other ending of life practices that tend to have a discriminatory effect on people with disabilities. Our position is can be summed up, although it's much deeper than this, can be summed up in 4 points. First, we believe that legalizing assisted suicide and euthanasia is unnecessary because people already have the option either to commit suicide or to refuse medical treatment and to have palliative care and palliative sedation, even to the point where they die. Secondly, we believe it's discriminatory because while people without disabilities receive suicide prevention services if they express a wish to die, people with disabilities who express a similar wish are more likely to get assisted suicide help and encouragement to die. Thirdly, we believe that the choice to die cannot be free as long as people with disabilities or people who ask for it do not have the choice in where and how they live. And finally, the safeguards that are used under such laws are not effective in preventing the deaths of people who should not be killed, who are not eligible to be killed under those laws. So those are our 4 essential points. The goal of our online discussion is to give people with disabilities the chance to talk about these issues from our own perspective. Most of the public debate on this subject is from the point of view either of religious conservatives or from the point of view of liberals who are, pushing for this policy. But people with disabilities who have been involved in disability rights or who have a lot of contact with the medical system have usually a more progressive view on public policy and have different issues that they bring to the table. Our awareness and experience with discrimination and the medical system and the lack of services that are available affect our position on this, and so it's useful for us to share information together and to speak to each other to have a more informed opinion about these issues. There are lots of ways to participate. You can use the Google Hangouts on air and join our chat there. All you have to do is request that you be invited to join the video chat, or you can just watch and submit questions via the Q&A option. You can also go to our YouTube page, which is under my name, Amy Hasbrook. And on the YouTube page, you can watch and also submit questions. And you can go to our website, which is TVNDY.ca, and watch and submit questions there as well. And we should be able to answer your questions. If you want more information about anything you hear, you can visit our website at tvndy.ca. You can also visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/toujourvivant-not-dead-yet, or you can follow me on Twitter, which is @TVNDY. And finally, you can email me at info@tv-ndy.ca. So those are all the ways you can get in touch with me. Today's topics are a review of our parliamentary luncheon last week, a strategy and planning meeting also that we're going to review, the starvation death of Pierre Mayence, Dying with Dignity's flawed survey and the disability community's response, finally a news brief and an announcement. So moving right along. About 20 MPs and several others attended a parliamentary luncheon on October 2nd in Ottawa, organized by Toujours Vivant, Not Dead Yet. Catherine Frazee, Dr. Bonnie Sawatsky, Norm Kunz, Nick Steenhout, and Hugh Schur were among the presenters who explained the disability rights perspective on end-of-life issues to the people who attended. The MPs in attendance represented the political gamut. The event was sponsored by Joe Comartin of the NDP. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. Okay.
Hey, you made it.
I know. Oh, whoops. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So I was just going over the parliamentary luncheon and who was there. We had a lot of people stop by who said that they were only going to stay for a minute and ended up staying for the whole thing because they were getting a lot of good information from people's individual stories as well as the information that folks were sharing. Do you have any comments on that?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it went really well. I thought, I thought it went really well, and yeah, it was so well organized, and the speakers were really good. Okay. Anyway, I hope it works out. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So next we're going to talk about. I'm just going to do a quick review of our strategy and planning meeting, which happened on October 3rd. We held a disability rights opposition to medical killing strategy and planning meeting. And at that meeting, 25 people heard presentations from Diane Coleman of Not Dead Yet in the US, from Kevin Fitzpatrick from the United Kingdom, and from experts from across Canada as well. In the afternoon workshops, we discussed community organizing and media strategies, how to prevent legalization of euthanasia and assisted suicide, as well as how to react once these practices are legalized. And I will be sending around notes from the meeting to the participants, and we expect to continue working together on some of these issues, especially things like dealing with what happens now that it's legal in Quebec. Did you want to add something because you ran a workshop?
The only thing I'm going to start trying to be a little bit more active. I'm going to contact 2 young journalists who appear on CTV. I've already talked to JJ McCullough. I think I sent you that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to contact Ilona Doherty, who is of Apathy is Boring, because I think I can if I can get through to them, they might be able to take this onto CTV. They're on the Newsnet a lot. So Ilona lives here in Montreal, and so I've sent her an email, and I'm going to wait. And if I don't hear back, I will just keep trying.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next item is the starvation death of Pierre Mayence. We learned this week of the suicide of Pierre Mayence, who starved himself to death over several months. According to La Presse, Monsieur Mayence no longer wanted to depend on his friends and medical personnel to perform every little task of life, and he saw his ability to leave his room extremely limited by bed sores. According to this description, it appears that Monsieur Mayence did not receive funds to hire his own attendants in his home. Rather, he had been living in a nursing home for a long time. This is the second suicide in 2 weeks of a person with a disability who lacked services to control the conditions of his life. And the legalization of euthanasia creates risks for people with disabilities who lack this kind of choice. Mr. Mayence, his story, like that of Mr. Tremblay, who committed suicide earlier, illustrates this problem very clearly. He saw no option but death. And as long as we do not provide access to services necessary for independence, many other people with disabilities are also at risk for choosing death, and choosing is in quotes, especially where euthanasia or medical aid in dying is legal. And this is absolutely the kind of concern that we have because of legalization of euthanasia in Quebec. Do you have any comments on that? Have you seen that?
You know, I hadn't. Oh, someone just. Okay. Oh, my microphone is muted. Hi, can you hear me?
No, you're on. You're on.
Oh, Rosie. Okay, now Rosie's getting on too. She can hear you. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, Amy. I'm still a little bit tired from Ottawa, but I have a plan. But I'll let you finish your presentation, then I'll.
Okay. Okay. The next topic is disability activists denounce flawed survey from Dying with Dignity. And this is because a survey published this week by the group Dying with Dignity claimed that 85% of people with disabilities support assisted suicide and euthanasia. However, only 94 of the 2,515 survey respondents actually had disabilities, which is less than 2% of the total. In a press release, Toujours Vivant-Not Dead Yet denounced the survey, saying that, quote, their conclusions as to the opinion of the disability community cannot be taken seriously. The survey questions were based on false assumptions, such as the idea that effective safeguards are possible. They also perpetuate the confusion between medical killing and palliative care, as well as confusion between terminal illness and disability as eligibility criteria. TVNDY added that the report should not be perceived as approval of assisted suicide, but as an example of discriminatory beliefs about disability. And that is they also used that survey to indicate that it was, there's a vast majority of support for assisted suicide, but because of the way the questions were asked, because most of it was gathered by an online survey form, which offers incentives to people who do these surveys, there's some question as to the effectiveness of the surveys. When anybody puts out a survey, they can contact their supporters and tell them to check off the survey. So it's a little less than random, I should say. Did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, there was a doctor journalist, I think it's Dr. Brett Belzer, and I went onto Twitter and I argued with him about this, and I said, did you look at the questions, and you need to understand statistics, and then I sent him your document, because of course he started doing the typical thing where he says, well, what exactly is wrong with this survey? So I knew that you had written something up, and I sent it to him. And I've distributed it to a number of people, and I will continue to do so. And it was nice to see that J.J. McCullough out in Vancouver was really in support of this, and it's nice to see a young guy doing that. So I actually told Margaret Atwood off too. So I just, anyway, sorry. I just said you haven't done, she's supporting it. I said, you really haven't done your homework, and you're speaking from a position of privilege. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Okay, so on the news brief side, there was an article this week where Véronique Yvon, who is the députée from Quebec who pushed the euthanasia bill through Quebec, wants now to expand the debate on assisted suicide and euthanasia. So at the same time that we learned of the death of Mr. Mayence, Véronique Yvon announced her desire to widen the debate on euthanasia to explicitly include people with disabilities. The act regarding end-of-life care, as it is now, limits medical aid in dying to people who are, quote, at the end of life, unquote, though this term is not defined in the statute. So as it is, people who have an incorrect or inaccurate prognosis, who get pneumonia or a skin breakdown where the infection jeopardizes their life, which is very typical, or who refuse to use a respirator, could be considered at the end of life. And like I said, there are a lot of medical conditions that people with disabilities have that put them at risk of their lives on a fairly regular basis. And so we're often considered to be at the end of our lives. And so imagine how far euthanasia could spread if the official eligibility criteria included people with disabilities. So even without, supposedly, without including people with disabilities, we're already included. If the eligibility criteria were to extend, it would include an even larger group of people. So I don't know if you'd heard about that.
Yes, I had. Yeah.
So, okay. So finally, we have a message from Lori Beecho, who is the national coordinator of the Council of Canadians with Disabilities. And Lori says, the Carter case on assisted suicide will be heard on Wednesday, October 15th at 9 a.m. The Council of Canadians with Disabilities and the Canadian Association of Community Living have intervenor status. A longtime ally, David Baker of Baker Law, is our counsel, and CCD and CACL have been granted oral arguments, so David Baker will be presenting at the court on Wednesday. Carmela Hutchison, a member of the CCD executive, and Amy Hasbrook, director of Toujours Vivant-Not Dead Yet, and others will be in attendance at the court. Below is a link to the we have a link to the Supreme Court hearing, Supreme Court's live webcast on our Facebook page, and also we'll put it up on our website so people can watch that live if they wish. CCD will be issuing a press release on Tuesday, and we expect a variety of media coverage. CBC TV will be hearing from Catherine Frazee, and we'll show a clip from her presentation from last week's parliamentary luncheon as part of that coverage. CCD and CACL, their argument is clear, and you can find the factum on the CCD website. Thanks to all who continue to contribute to this discourse in this challenging debate. What is truly needed is public discussion, which includes the perspective of activists with disabilities. Canadians are compassionate and they are also fair. I believe they want to ensure that vulnerable people are not put at greater risk. So that's Lori's statement. And again, you can find the link to the live webcast on our website. So, anything else? You're still planning to come, Irene?
Yeah, I'm planning on coming. I'm not so sure about my mom, though, because she's having pain in her leg, and so we're going to wait and see how things go. The one thing that was really heartening is last night on the National, they had a segment on polls, and I was tweeting throughout it, and the segment was about how polls that come from special interest groups are often very, very unreliable, and how polling in the country has become, generally has become less reliable. So I used that opportunity to tweet quite a bit and say, see? So, well, so I do what I can. So.
No, that's great, and I'm glad that they did that, because it's absolutely true. When, like I said, when a group wants to show a particular result, they simply contact their members and say, go, participate in this poll, and click one way or the other, and it can swing the poll in whatever direction. And also, as we pointed out, the way the questions are phrased can have a huge impact on how people look at the poll and answer the questions. Similarly, the Canadian Association of Retired Persons had a poll this week where several of the questions were phrased in such a way that it was confusing and didn't give people an opportunity to simply say, no, I don't approve of assisted suicide, because several of the questions took as given that assisted suicide would be legal, so people didn't have the option to opt out of those questions. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep active here because my guns are really going now. I'm really upset.
Yeah.
You know, the media coverage just really knocked me over yesterday. So I'm gonna try and stay calm and just contact people and just try and get the message out. And I think I'm really hoping JJ McCullough and Ilona will help, because I like the way they present things on television. They seem really calm and very sure of themselves, and I'm really hoping that works out.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly happy to go and speak to them, or at least Ilona. I know JJ's on the West Coast, but we'd certainly be happy to speak to her. And when Norm gets back from Australia, I'm sure he'd be available to speak to Mr. McCullough.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. Oh, yeah, excellent, because he's out there. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Oh, super. Yeah, super.
So I'm just going to give our contact information for people so that they can be in touch with us. And to reach us, you can email me at info@tv-ndy.ca. You can also contact us via our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/toujours vivant not dead yet, all one word. We have a website at tvndy.ca, or you can follow me on Twitter @TVNDY. And I think that's probably all the ways to get in touch with me. So I want to thank you, Irene, and everybody for listening now and later. And remember to, we're generally here on Fridays, except for when we're off doing a major project. And to bring more information about the discussion of euthanasia and assisted suicide from the point of view of people with disabilities. So thanks very much. Goodbye.
Thanks, Amy. Bye.